Liberty Falls is one of the new Black Ops 6 Zombies maps, and we've gotten the epic intro cutscene, and tomorrow we're supposed to be getting some gameplay. Most people know by now that Liberty Falls is based on a real town called Harper's Ferry in West Virginia. So I wanted to go in and do a side-by-side comparison of what they've shown us so far compared to the real town. I think I found a few things that could be potential Easter eggs, or what they base side Easter eggs or even main Easter eggs on. I also found some key locations that we're probably going to see in this map, and then on top of it, this place, Harper's Ferry, West Virginia, is one of the most haunted places in America. So I'm going to talk about all of that, but first I want to talk about the church. That's what they've shown us the most of. This image here is a painting of Liberty Falls, and you can see the church in the background. This image here was from the Modern Warfare Zombies Season 5 outro cutscene after you finish the boss fight. You see Dr. Jansen get sucked through a mirror, and then at the end of the cutscene they pan to this painting on the wall, and it's labeled Liberty Falls. I went into Google Earth in my VR headset and looked around this town, and I found some really cool stuff, some promising things that could be Easter eggs, but I wanted to try to get a shot of the town from the same angle as that painting, and I got pretty close. The town is on the edge of two rivers, and it's got some railroad tracks going into it. Here's a close-up of the real-life town. You can see the church in the background, and it's got that same elevation going up towards the church and sloping down towards the river. Here's a side-by-side of that painting on the left and the real town on the right, and the churches do look similar, and some of the buildings do also. This building here is significant. It's called the Harper's Mansion, and it's the oldest surviving structure in Harper's Ferry. It was built by the founders, and it's got a very cool ghost story, and this ghost story might be a side Easter egg or main Easter egg stuff that we could see in the map. I'll talk about that later on in the video, but first I want to go back to the church and show you guys a side-by-side comparison of the one in the map and the one in real life, inside and out. It is awesome. This image here is a close-up shot of the Liberty Falls church. This image here came through secret intel through WhatsApp. If you messaged Call of Duty, they would message you back with a link, and it was taking you to images of Liberty Falls, and this was one of them. And here is the real church in Harper's Ferry. It's called St. Peter's Roman Catholic Church. This was built in 1833, and it's been remodeled, but it's notable for being the only church in Harper's Ferry that was not destroyed during the Civil War. And this town is significant for events that happened during the Civil War. Here's a side-by-side of both churches, the Liberty Falls on the left and Harper's Ferry on the right. Structurally, very similar. You see some changes in archways and stained glass, but overall, it's pretty much the same. And the really cool part is the inside and those similarities. This image here was also secret intel that they were messaging, and what's cool is if you look at the upper balcony here and how it's shaped, and then let's look at the inside of the real church, and you can see the balcony is the same curvature, and there's the front door, and that is where the organ is housed. Here's a side-by-side of both of those images. Liberty Falls on the left, obviously, Harper's Ferry on the right. In Liberty Falls, it's not housing an organ. It looks like it's been turned into some kind of an office. You can see some boards with some papers and a desk. And if you spin around and look at the other side of the church, they did show us a scene of the Liberty Falls church from this angle. This was a teaser clip at the end of the Terminus reveal trailer, and you just saw this scene very quickly. This is where the front of the church is, and you can see the Pack-a-Punch machine right there. Next comparison is the intro cutscene for Liberty Falls. You see an eagle-eye view panning into the town. Notice the road on the left and that elevation of that hill on the right. Then you see another eagle-eye view of a road, obviously going into the town. Now we'll go to the real-life VR Google Earth view, and I'm getting close to where that camera was in the intro cutscene, and you can see that elevation on the right, and then on the left there's that road going into the town, and I've got the marker on the actual church itself. The address is 100 Church Street, so I'm guessing that maybe in the map it'll also be Church Street. I found a scene where a car was actually driving on the road into the town. I thought this was pretty funny because it does mimic the intro cutscene. Now, if we fly towards the church, the direction that the camera was going, and go to the highest point of this little hill or mountain, there is a cemetery right on top. I'm guessing there's a pretty high probability that there will be a cemetery in this location in the map. Seems like something they wouldn't want to leave out, but if you keep moving forward, you can see the church right there close to the shore. Here's a better shot here showing the cemetery. So on the left there is the church, and if you look to the right, that is the creepy old cemetery. And there is a house next to this cemetery that is a landmark for Harper's Ferry, West Virginia, called the Lockwood House. It's that red 2-story house at the end of the cemetery. I'll talk more about that in just a moment. I can see why this place is one of the most haunted places in America. I mean, look at this cemetery. The ghosts are out in the daylight. Look at that thing. But yeah, creepy AF. I expect this cemetery to be a point of interest in the map and have Easter eggs galore. Now, if you go towards the top of the hill, towards that house I was talking about, it's a 2-story house. Again, it's a landmark called the Lockwood House. Treyarch likes to represent real-life buildings and locations, so I would not be surprised if we see some kind of building that represents this Lockwood House if the cemetery is in the map. I like to imagine that Richtofen was in this Lockwood House in the intro cutscene, but that's probably not correct. The next thing that is a pretty big deal in the town of Harper's Ferry is the train station. This town is representative of transit and having a bus and a bus station. And is it possible that in Liberty Falls, we're going to have a train with a train station to get around? If they don't put in a train, they have missed a huge opportunity to do something really cool. Also, this train station has a scary-ass ghost story. It's called The Legend of Screaming Jenny. Jenny was a poor woman who lived alone in a small shack near the train tracks in Harper's Ferry. One cold evening, she was warming herself by the fire when her dress accidentally caught on fire, and in a panic, she ran out of her shack and into the train tracks. She was hoping someone would help her, but unfortunately, she was struck by an oncoming train and died from her injuries. Since then, many people claim to have seen her ghost. They describe a burning figure running along the tracks, screaming for help. Train engineers have reported seeing her just before their train passes through the area, only for her to disappear right before their eyes. I'd love to see some kind of side Easter egg with this ghost story, or like a boss fight with this screaming Jenny. Just kidding, that's not gonna happen. The next thing is about this intel that you can hear through audio logs in Modern Warfare Zombies. One of the characters talks about her being a little girl in Liberty Falls and that there was a comic book shop. Well, there was never a comic book shop in Harper's Ferry, but they do have this bookshop, and it's right below the church. Another point of interest that I found in Harper's Ferry was this rock formation here called Jefferson's Rock. This rock is named after Thomas Jefferson, who visited Harper's Ferry in 1783. He was so impressed by the views from this spot that he wrote about it in his book, Notes on the State of Virginia. People like to come to this location and visit it to know that they are standing where Thomas Jefferson stood at one time. It's definitely curious looking, and I could see some really evil shit happening here in the map. Next thing I found in the town that I thought was cool were these gel cell looking things. This is right around the corner from the church, like maybe less than a block away. I thought these were gels, but they're not. I looked into it, and these are root cellars, and where they would put their food and store it for it to be cooler underground. With these being so close to the church and so creepy looking, I was like, yeah, we might see these. Last thing I want to talk about is an Easter egg step or side Easter egg we might see in Liberty Falls. There's a famous ghost story surrounding the founder's house, the Harper's Mansion. The mansion is right next to the church and right across the street from those underground cellars I just showed you. The ghost story is about the founder's wife. Her name was Rachel Harper, and this is the mansion right here. According to legend, during the Revolutionary War, Robert and Rachel Harper made a lot of money from their ferry business in this town. To protect their wealth from being taxed by the British, they started burying their money. Rachel Harper is said to haunt the Harper house, which was their dream home. She is often seen looking out of an upstairs window, possibly watching over the buried family treasure. The story goes that Robert Harper instructed Rachel to bury family gold and not to tell anyone where it was hidden. This secretive act has led to tales of her restless spirit guarding the hidden treasure. I could see all kinds of cool side Easter eggs being created from that, like find the hidden treasure and get some extra money. But yeah, if I were Treyarch, I would be taking from the history of this town. It's super interesting and it would make some really cool steps for Easter eggs. And if none of this makes it into the actual map in Liberty Falls, then we all got a cool history lesson. But I hope you guys enjoyed this, and we'll see you next video.